because we wouldn't be here as young black people and young black professionals today without the composure and the strength and the assimilation a lot of older black people had to do in order to survive. Now, being a younger person, Preston said something that was powerful, that Will Smith had a human moment, and I think I understand the effect that, you know, and especially in high stakes stages and large forums, that one black person messes up, it's horrible for all of us, but it shouldn't be that way. So looking from a younger point of view, I agree too that I think Will Smith just had a human moment. I know that he's this rich, you know, influential black man, but we have to also recognize him doing everything, being a great entertainer, always connecting with the culture, always acknowledging, you know, people of color and putting them on. Like, I just saw an interview with Nick Cannon on Earn Your Leisure podcast. I don't know if you've heard of that one. Yeah. And Nick Cannon was talking about Will Smith is the one that put him on. For Nick Cannon to be the multi-hyphenate he is. We don't know, and all the things in the background that Will Smith has probably been a part of. So knowing all the good things he's done and how much that, if you really want to break it down, white America has admired and respected him, and now him messing up and they turn their backs, that's the direct indication of kind of like how racism works. Like that, and that's a level of tokenism too. We get that one black person we really like and we hold on to him until he does something. No, it shouldn't be that way. I think we should be allowed to have to not always be composed. Now, the stage he did it on, definitely a big no-no. And I don't want to glaze over the fact that what he did was wrong, but I think it's also a moment to realize, man, you know, these celebrities, they're human too. Even if they're black, white, Asian, whatever, they're human too, and they have these moments. And when a human problems spill over into career or celebrity, that's when these type of moments happen. And I think the further conversation we're going to start having is maybe mental health, talking about relationships within the black culture. So I think that's what I'm excited about, the conversations about black mental health that are going to result from this. Because we can't be composed all the time. There's times that we're going to have to release those emotions and stress. Again, not on a large stage like that. We don't want to do that, but I think it's interesting to kind of look at it from different perspectives.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I can't argue any of that. One thing the young gentleman said, he doesn't believe there's black on black crime. I guess that's a different perspective, because I definitely believe there is. If you predicate or prey on a certain group, it's like bird on bird. It's cannibalism. It is black on black. There's crime in crime. There's Burmese in Buffalo who are robbed by other Burmese because they know they're not going to go to the authorities. Wow. There's white on white crime. White crime in the suburbs that we're not going to call. Of course there is. And then there's general crime. But then there's categories of crime, and there is black on black crime. There are people who are black who target other black people to perpetrate on. They do. I don't mind to split hairs, but there's a lot going on. Composure is important. Mental health issues are important. That people have resources. And I work in the school system, and I tell the students, self-discipline is the best discipline. There was nothing at risk. There was no threat. You're defending a loved one under threat of violence is one thing. You get up out your seat to go up to a stage to strike somebody who happens to share the same skin tone as you. That can't be more black on black. It wasn't a white man that come up there and slapped him. That was black on black crime, unfortunately. Will is under a lot of pressure. I see that. And he did snap. I see that. It's just unfortunate. And then when the young man said he doesn't see the consequences, well, he ain't been around the world to look into the households. He hasn't been to the many job spaces. Right or wrong, people have biases, and they shift on what they see. I always say be an ambassador for your people, whatever you are, so that you could have people, you could have rednecks and white supremacists who see a black person maintain themselves in a certain way. It eases it up off of their misconceptions. Even if it's a misconception, you don't want to feed that thing by doing something. And we totally don't live in a perfect world. And I'm encouraged by your words that the younger generation of blacks are having a different approach. I pray every night that things ease up. And you guys are the future. And I'm encouraged. I will say that how intelligently you're talking, once again, how poised you're talking. And it is an issue. Guess what? I don't think it's gotten enough attention. They talked about it for a minute and let it go. But I have nothing against Will Smith. He hasn't been crucified. He hasn't been taken out and whipped. He hasn't been even taken to central booking on a misdemeanor. So he hasn't really felt any real consequence or punishment. But when I said people weren't connected what he did, there are people out there looking for something, right or wrong. They seized on it, and it flavors their attitude toward our people. But this is a beautiful show. I look forward to hearing more of your show, and just God bless you guys again is all I really can say.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Well, Preston, did you want to say anything to the caller before we let him go?
Well, technically, what I wanted to say about that black on black crime, going back to that, if you want to put it like that, then technically there's black on white crime, there's like black on black crime, there's white on white crime. But like, why do we have to like specify when it's black on black crime?
I guess because it just hit close to home for me. That's all. It just hit. So here's a thing I have in the communities. Robbing each other, stealing from each other. You should be robbing anybody. But why are you going to rob from your own people? Why are you going to hurt your own people? I'm not saying, I'm with you. It is a dilemma. I'm with you, young Mr. Preston. And your words have given me, when I get off the phone, I'm going to think of that. Maybe my view on that is not as accurate and succinct and appropriate as it may be. So here's the beauty. Your beautiful words today and your poise, like you said, you could be changed. That whole concept, I believe my perspective is shifting because of your ability to articulate that concept. So I believe good has come out of this. And some people think bad habits can be tossed out the window. They can't. They have to be coaxed out of the basement. And I think this show and this conversation, you've already touched one person. I can raise my hand for myself. I can't really speak for anybody else. But you've given me something to gnaw on and something to go forward. And you may be giving me a glimmer of optimism and hope maybe I didn't have prior to this. So Mr. Preston, young lady, go forward. Stay strong and rage on.
Thank you, caller. Wonderful job, guys. Preston, Chandra, this is your boy, Willie H, a.k.a. DJ Slack, no like all black. Hallelujah. Come on. Now, I probably agree a little bit more with the phone caller, but I think I do understand Preston also where it's crime is crime. But I identify because it helps me when I think about black on black crime. I think about, okay, I want to make sure I'm not doing anything to my fellow, criminal anyway. I don't want to do anything to anybody, but especially to my brother. So even at times when I get upset with my community or some of the brothers or sisters in my community, I always think of that concept, black on black, and that helps me to cool down and calm down and say, well, I don't want to be an incident of black on black crime. And like I said, I agree with both of you, but I'm probably closer to the caller because I need that black on black to keep me from exhibiting any anger or hostility or to. Okay, now Chandra got a response. Go ahead, Chandra.
I got a response to that. So this is my thing. We have to understand how black on black crime has been used to attack the black community politically. So many politicians, the powers that be, have used black on black crime to give the notion that black people are attacking each other and we're just these crazy people. It's not black on black crime, it's poor on poor crime. Yes. If you're in poverty, if you're in a place where there's not as many resources and there's a competitive culture, that's why drug dealing and all these things exist, because when people don't have the resources to get it through the proper channels, they're going to do what they have to do to feed their family. So we have to understand that all of these terms are used to attack us, and it's creating this image that black people, we attack each other. Will Smith did not hit Chris Rock because he was black. Will Smith hit Chris Rock because he offended his wife. It was not the intention, so we have to be very careful when we say that, because it's make to a larger audience as looking like we're this culture that's attacking our own, when we've really been forced to be in certain areas and close-knit areas which usually don't have as much space, with not a lot of resources. We're fighting over resources, years of fighting over resources. You're going to start fighting each other. That happens in any community, any culture, but it's just in America, people of color are at a disadvantage, and we know because of the history we have with slavery and things like that. I was at a UB masterclass yesterday, and there was a man talking about the struggle that Indigenous and Native Americans deal with. And it was interesting because, you know, he was talking about the significant and purposeful and intentional erasure of Native Americans, and how they're not even talked about. The way black people are talked about, we're hyper, like we're shown everywhere. We're everywhere. It's like hyper exposure with black people, but it's the total opposite with Native Americans. And it's done that way for a reason, because of what colonization has done to people of color. But we just have to be very careful, because we have to understand that the powers that be use certain terms to so that we can attack our own. Like even the way we're critiquing our own. I think, again, I totally understand for older black people, their perspective, because the way they look at life is like, for us to make it, we have to assimilate to a certain degree. And so the power that people of color have is that they're not only looking with the eye from their perspective, but they're looking how white people are looking at us, white America, and things like that, and critiquing us in that way. But as younger people, we're individuals. Black is not a monolith. We're all different. But before I get on I'm not ranting. I just want to really share and push that idea home, because we have to understand that there are certain tactics used to continue to destroy us. So yeah, but Preston, was there any other thoughts that came to mind about this conversation?
I was honestly gonna say that as soon as you like pointed it out. I was gonna say like there's like more crime in low income areas, and that's just like where crime erupts, because people don't have, and what people don't have, they're gonna try and get. People actually need, they don't want in low income areas. They need. So they're gonna do what they can to get what they need, so their family can survive. Right. So it's just it's understanding. But I really like this conversation, and I really appreciate the caller for calling in. And I think he said he's part of the he's on the Board of Education, I think, in here in Buffalo. So it's really, I'm glad we have people like that really care about our people and our culture, and is in certain positions like that. So thank you so much, caller, for calling in and sharing your perspective. But I'm glad we talked about this, Preston. You brought it up, but I'm glad we did, because it gave us more insight. But the cool thing about it is that I continue to see all these different perspectives. Like, it's never ending. Yeah, it's never ending. So yeah. But I'm curious, because I've had this conversation with a couple people back to kind of like Jada. I've seen a lot of people say protect black women. And I know a lot of men feel iffy on that term, or so no, but in that, I think we definitely should protect black women, because they have like a lot of disadvantages. But like, I'm just saying, like, in that specific instance, Will Smith's form of protection wasn't really good. It was actually kind of detrimental for his career in a way. So like, I definitely see what you're saying there. So this is the interesting thing, like, and this is a critique, okay, for older callers out there. This is a critique I will give our young people. We have statements, but we don't contextualize those statements. So we have like protect black women,
Even an interesting thing I heard about was like hashtag when the whole thing was happening with the pandemic and people were attacking people of Asian descent.
Yeah.
And it was Stop Asian Hate. And someone was saying, why are we saying Stop Asian Hate? Because we're kind of, we're not putting the blame on the people that are creating this Asian hate, quote unquote. So it's kind of like we should get a different statement. But back to protect black women. The thing about that is that protect black women when we see them being attacked, purposefully attacked emotionally, physically, in whatever way. But if you did something and you know there's negative repercussions for that, I shouldn't necessarily be protecting you from that. If you did something you knew you were not supposed to do, then that's the result of you doing something you're not supposed to do. I shouldn't necessarily be protecting you from that. And as a black woman, I know my fellow black women, I know some of y'all are not going to agree with me, and I totally understand that. But if you do something wrong, you're going to have repercussions. So I think we should contextualize what protect black women means. Now, with the Will and Jada thing, at the end of the day, I think he was really trying to protect his wife. And I think it was a mix of things. I think it was him protecting his wife, but I think it was also kind of his ego too. Like,
yeah, that can be said.
Yeah.
Or like another reason or thing that it could be is just like things that built up over time. Will Smith has like, I actually read his book, so like,
oh yeah.
He was speaking about how all his life he felt like, especially in the beginning, he felt like a coward because his father used to beat his mother and he felt like he couldn't do anything about it. So it probably stemmed a little bit from there, where he felt like I couldn't do anything back then to protect my family, but like now I can actually do something now that I'm older.
I think I remember briefly hearing about that. Also, another thing to think about is that Jada, she was bald at the show, and Chris Rock kind of brought that up and called her like G.I. Jane, and she has alopecia. Like, she's not bald by choice. She's bald because she has a certain illness. So to kind of bring that up, I could see how that like hit a pressure point. And we don't know what goes behind the scenes. And this is another thing. My dad mentioned this, which is interesting. Just because a woman looks good doesn't mean that she feels good. Because my dad was saying, well, she looks good. She's hot with the bald head and everything. That doesn't mean that she feels that way. So, and I was telling my dad about this, and it's like, I think sometimes men, they'll see a beautiful woman, but just because she's beautiful, she might not feel beautiful. She might have a certain insecurity, and maybe the thing that you think is so beautiful about her, that might be her main insecurity. So it's kind of like, you know, it's this is why even though this happened, and I say this all the time in history, crazy things like this has to happen so that conversations can start, so we can get better. It's always like that. Crazy things happen, and then we have good conversation. So I feel like this is just going to open up a lot of conversations about relationships, perception, when to do things and when not to do things, mental health, the family, everything. So it's just opening up a lot. But how do you feel about like not only that, well, I'm gonna ask you about the joke, but not only that, Jada came out and said created the Oscar So White hashtag. So I honestly feel like there was some intention for Chris Rock and Will Smith to have some type of issue, because Jada was the one that started the Oscars So White and had Black Hollywood critiquing the Oscars. So I feel like to some way the Oscars situated this to happen, and not only that, I think they have to approve all the jokes before the host, whoever, tells them. And we have to remember, when Jada did the Oscars So White thing, Chris Rock was the host, and he critiqued Jada and said something like, you know, how can you critique it when you wasn't even invited?
He actually made a joke about that.
So there's a lot of things happening here, you guys. So, you know, I think we say things out of passion and our perspective again. And I can't lie, I've said things out of my perspective too, but there's a lot more things. I feel like there's a lot more happening here.
All right, this is your boy Willie H, aka DJ Slack, no lack, all black. Chandra Preston in the house. I'm sorry, Chandra, I took the mic from you. But here's a question I want to ask. I don't know if you can hear me, right, Chandra? Here's a question I want to ask. Do you think now, because I know a lot of women love that Will Smith stood up for his wife and smacked another man or retaliated. There's something took an action for him. Now, do you think what Will did now, Jada and Will are now closer because of it? Anybody, any clues on it? Do you think? Here, I'm giving the mic back to you.
I'm not gonna lie. As a woman, if my man hit another man for disrespecting me, that is very attractive. I'm not gonna lie. If that's and that's probably why men feel that way too, because they probably feel like he did it to get bonus points with her, but he made himself look bad.
But unpopular opinion, do you think that's kind of selfish?
I do think that's selfish. You're right. I do think that's selfish. But this moment is almost like, and I hate to compare it to another extreme moment, but this is kind of the same moment like when OJ was not found guilty. Yeah. Because so many black people were put in jail for things that they didn't do, or the cops attacking them. To have a black man, or as quote unquote, as people say, a magical Negro that gets away with it, and it's like, yeah, this is payback. So that's kind of, I feel like for black women, that's how the Will Smith slap to Chris Rock felt like. Yeah, y'all have talked about us, demeaned us, especially with, there's a very tense, sensitive situation when it comes to black women and black men. Yeah. Because what I've seen is that black men are so eager to kind of talk about how they don't like black women or something that they do. So the fact that another black man stood up to another black man and said, "You're not going to talk. I'ma hurt you because you talked about my wife." That's like, for a woman, that's like, yes, like a woosah, like, yo, you finally stood up for us. You finally said something. Yeah. So yeah. How do you feel about that, Preston?
I just like, there's other ways you could go about it, in my opinion. I just like, as I said before, like, some people are gonna hate me for this shit, but I think that's really selfish. So like, for a black woman to say, you should put your career on the line just because I feel bad.
Well, we have to understand too, I'm saying for black women that were watching it, it's like, wow, he did that. That made him feel good. I don't think we don't know if Jada wanted him to do that. I see a lot of people saying that, like, oh, Jada looked at him a certain way or said something or tapped him. We don't know. Like, we don't know. And people were saying like, oh, Will Smith was laughing at first. But I think people can, I don't want to put anything in anyone's ear or say something, but people can laugh and be nervous, and then you keep talking and keep saying something, and they got to say something. So you don't know. Again, I think we can all agree that Will Smith was wrong. Yeah. It's kind of like the how and why that we're like theorizing.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but everything you said was true. I think even if he did it to get bonus points with his wife, I think it was kind of selfish, and it kind of put his career on the line,
And I also think that we have to like one conversation that came up when I was listening to a podcast is like, protect comics, because I don't think comics like in general, this has happened to like many comics, should be attacked for saying a joke. It's their job to say a joke, no matter like how edgy that joke is. I don't think they should be physically assaulted just for saying a joke like that. Now, like, if you don't find it funny, you can not laugh. You could even get up and leave. But attacking someone because you don't like their joke, I think that's overboard.
Yeah. You know what's funny is that I was watching The Breakfast Club, and they were talking about this Chris Rock Will Smith thing, and they were talking about how comedians are kind of like put in a weird situation, especially now that everyone's quote unquote woke. It's kind of touchy. Either you have comedians that are like, F that, I'm going extreme, or you have comedians that have kind of shied away. Where Chris Rock, he's pretty much the same
Yeah.
person. Dave Chappelle, pretty much the same.
Yeah.
They're gonna do their thing. They don't care.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, to a certain degree, I definitely agree. Protect comedians, and it's a very interesting situation and temperature for comedians right now.
Yeah.
But I will say, Chris Rock, even though he was embarrassed, I cannot imagine being slapped on mainstream TV by Will Smith.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but I heard his tickets sold out. His tour sold out. He's making money.
Out of that. Yeah.
So he did get something out of it. I'm not saying that's okay, but yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting. Yeah. And I do feel sorry for Chris Rock. I feel sorry for Chris Rock.
5 more minutes.
But yeah, it is what it is.
I have one question, right?
Yeah.
Do you think celebrities get some type of celebrity privilege?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I definitely believe celebrities get privilege.
Yeah, but they get the opposite too.
But because they get all of that privilege, they're constantly critiqued, like my dad just said.
Yeah.
So they are under a microscope for every single thing everything they do. And I don't know. The Smith family, for me, they are so out of the box in everything they do, and I kind of like that. I like when people challenge the status quo. And when I say that, I'm not necessarily talking about the slap, but I'm talking about, like, even look at the critique that, like, his son got for wearing a skirt. Like, look at Willow, his daughter, for being a black girl doing rock music. Look at even his wife being a black woman that was in a rock band, hard rock band for years.
I personally love it.
And I just love the way that the Smith family has literally challenged the way black people are supposed to be. Like but that they're free. they don't have the financial restraints we do. They don't have the social restraints. So really what we're looking at is what it would be like if, you know, black people had the same opportunities as everyone else.
Yeah.
So that's what we're seeing. So I think we get so into how we see the world that we don't understand it could be different. And I think the Smith family, that's what they represent. So that's why I admire them.
Another thing about that is just some people are just scared to be different.
Yeah.
Because of, like, how others will view them.
Yeah. And that's another tactic used for the powers that be, that black people have to be a certain way. So even if we do something different, and we're so indoctrinated that when we do something different, other black people will come out to critique us.
Yeah.
So not to make this like attack on our culture. I'm just talking freely, kind of like how we just have to understand how we're being indoctrinated and how people have our history. We have to understand the effect, and we have to really question and be curious about, why do I have to do this? Why is it expected of me to do this? And kind of think on that, critically think about that.
Yeah. No, definitely.
So
Alrighty, y'all been listening to Chandra from Sneak Vibe, and also my man Preston from Brooklyn. Happy to have them here, and the discussion was powerful and deep. Thank you, caller. This has been the Gospel Party 716 with Sneak Vibe and Chandra. Hopefully we will see more of Preston. You're welcome as a guest anytime, Preston. We got about a minute and a half. I just want to say thank you, viewers. Thank you, everybody. We on streaming on Facebook, as well as Cheyenne is calling and bringing the caller down. Could you get that for me, Chandra? Oh, maybe she's edit so we can hear her on air. Maybe she'll no, don't hit that. Don't hit that. Maybe we can hear her on air. Go ahead. Hey, go ahead, Cheyenne. Don't.
we're on air. We're on air.
Well, if you were, you turned off. All right, but anyway, I want to say thank you guys for hanging out with me. You've been watching the Gospel Party 716 with your boy DJ Slack No Like All Black. Hallelujah. Come on. Glory to God. Thank you for Preston for coming in. You'll be our guest at any time.
Where we can follow.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Ask the question.
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out Preston, and where can we follow you, Preston?
On Instagram at Preston's Perfections.
Awesome. You can follow me, Chandra, at SNEAKVIBING&PRESTON2022 on Instagram, social media, Twitter, Facebook, everything. And you can follow the Gospel Party 716 on all social media platforms as well.
All righty, y'all. Thank you for joining us. We're going to say goodbye. Have a great day. I love you, but God loves you more. The Gospel Party 716 with your boy, DJ Slack, no like, all black. Hallelujah. Come on.
But stop claiming you real, knowing you hate facts. Sad thing is how fast you could diss a black queen and turn around and walk on eggshells for a drag queen. Bizzle, this what you wanted? I never came for the smoke.
You're listening to 91.3 FM WPNY Buffalo, Buffalo's original alternative since 1982, brought to you by the Buffalo State College Student Activity Fee.
Rolled out of bed this morning with my heart back on my sleeve. Rolled out of bed this morning with my heart back on my sleeve. I wonder if I was born that way, or if my life did that to me. Sometimes to live in solitude is the only medicine I need. So focused on what I should do instead of who I need to be. So focused on what I should do instead of who I need to be. I wonder if I was born that way, or if my life did that to me. Well, sometimes to live in solitude is the only medicine I need. Well, I think I'll play in the dirt today and pull out all the weeds. Yeah, I think I'll play in the dirt today and I'll pull out all the weeds. Cut down all the dying crops and plant some brand new seeds. Sometimes to live in solitude is the only medicine I need.